I was born to take care of my disabled brother, but my life feels stolen. I'm 17, exhausted, and resentful, trapped between family duty and my lost childhood. My name is Ethan. I'm 17 years old, and from the moment I could understand anything, my life has been defined by a responsibility I never asked for. I have an older brother, Shane, who is 21. Shane's not like most people. He's physically disabled. He can't walk or do much for himself. On top of that, when Shane was around 3, the doctors told my parents he was on the autism spectrum. Later, they also diagnosed him with an intellectual disability. This triple diagnosis means Shane needs help for everything: getting in and out of his wheelchair and bed, bathing, eating, drinking, and even holding objects. He's nonverbal, so he can't tell anyone what he needs or how he feels with words. He relies on others completely. I didn't grow up with my parents at first. Until I was 5, I lived with relatives and only visited my parents and Shane occasionally. But at 5, everything changed. My parents moved me in with them and started teaching me how to care for Shane. I learned how to feed him, bathe him, clean up after him, and do so many other things. They told me I was important, not just their son, but Shane's future guardian. When I was 8, they told me something I wasn't prepared to hear. They knew Shane would never be able to live independently, and they needed me to be the one to take care of him when they died. I was their safety net, their plan, their hope. And it felt like my entire childhood was put on hold for that role. I missed out on so much. No swimming lessons, no trampoline or bounce houses, rarely any time with friends. And even then, it had to be safe, with no chance I'd get hurt. My education suffered because of it. I'm graduating next year, but my grades are barely passing. Not because I'm not capable, but because my life has been so burdened with responsibility. My extended family, the ones I might have turned to, have made it clear they don't want to help me live my own life. They're distant, cold, and whenever I ask for support, I feel brushed off. My parents see me as Shane's future caretaker, but not as their son who deserves a childhood. Lately, that resentment has been bubbling over. I get bitter in conversations with them, and when they confronted me, I finally told them the truth. I'm angry. I resent that they had me for this purpose, to be Shane's keeper. They were furious. They said I should love Shane enough to want to do this. But what they don't understand is that love and resentment can live side by side. And now, even family on both sides are acting colder toward me. I'm alone in this, and I don't know if that makes me the asshole. Living with the constant weight of responsibility is like carrying an invisible burden on my shoulders every single day. From the moment I wake up to when I finally collapse into bed, Shane's needs are always there, demanding my attention. Helping him get out of bed, maneuvering his wheelchair through narrow doorways, feeding him patiently, and making sure he's safe. These aren't occasional tasks. They are my daily reality. Sometimes, I watch other kids my age laughing with friends, going to parties, learning to swim or ride bikes, and I wonder what that life feels like. But those experiences were never really an option for me. My parents always said it was too risky, too unpredictable. "You can't take chances with Shane," they warned. "We worry about you both." Their fear turned into control. No trampoline, no bounce houses, no unsupervised outings. Even playdates with cousins had to be gentle, calm, and risk-free. I learned to put my own needs last. My schoolwork suffered. My grades aren't what I wanted them to be, but I'm barely hanging on, just hoping to graduate next year. When I ask for help or a break, the answer is usually a cold shoulder from extended family. They treat me like a servant, or worse, invisible. My parents? They see me only as Shane's future caregiver, a plan, not a person with dreams, desires, or pain. This has left me feeling so isolated, bitter, and angry. I carry guilt for feeling this way, but I can't help it. It's hard to love unconditionally when you feel trapped. I've tried to tell them how I feel, but my resentment often comes out as bitterness. and they dismiss it, telling me I should love Shane enough to want this. But sometimes love is complicated. I'm angry that I never got to be a kid, that my childhood was traded for caregiving, and now I'm scared about what the future holds. Am I selfish for feeling this way, or am I just human? From a young age, my parents made it clear. I wasn't just their son. I was Shane's future guardian. When I was only 8, they sat me down and told me something that still echoes in my mind. They said they had me, so someone would be there for Shane when they were gone. It was supposed to be comforting, but it felt like a weight dropped on my chest, crushing any childhood hopes I had. Growing up, my life revolved around Shane's care. I learned to feed him, bathe him, lift him, and communicate in ways only a sibling could understand. But I also learned to hide my own feelings. How could I complain about missing out on a normal life when Shane's needs were so great? How could I feel resentment when I was supposed to be a hero in the family's eyes? But the truth is, I am angry. Angry that I wasn't given a choice. Angry that my childhood was shaped around sacrifice. Angry that my parents put their hopes for Shane's future on me without considering what I wanted. My education suffered because of it. I had to juggle school with caregiving duties, and often one took a back seat to the other. Friends became distant memories. I missed birthday parties, school trips, even the simple joy of hanging out without worry. When I expressed my frustration, my parents dismissed it as selfishness. They reminded me of how important my role was, how much Shane needed me, and how they counted on me to keep the family together. But what about me? What about my dreams? Sometimes I wish I could tell them, I love Shane, but I'm tired. Tired of being the only one expected to carry this responsibility. Tired of feeling trapped, and maybe, just maybe, tired of feeling invisible as a person. The house felt heavier than usual, the silence thick like fog hanging over every room. I wasn't planning on passing the kitchen that night, but a faint, trembling voice pulled me in. It was Skylar. She was on the phone, whispering urgently, her tone fragile and overwhelmed. "I just can't keep pretending anymore," she said softly, her words laced with exhaustion. "Dad's new girlfriend. Mom's lies. It's all too much to bear." Then came a harsher voice, cold, dismissive, unmistakably Emily's. "You're acting like a child, Skylar. Stop stirring up trouble where there is none." I stopped in my tracks, heart pounding. The fight wasn't just between adults anymore. My little sister was trapped in the crossfire, caught between two worlds that were tearing her apart. The next morning, I found Skylar sitting quietly at the kitchen table, her eyes distant and heavy with sleepless nights. She looked like she was carrying the weight of the world on her small shoulders. I sat beside her, gently reaching out. "Sky, you don't have to carry this alone," I whispered. Her eyes met mine, red-rimmed, tired, but filled with raw honesty. "I'm scared, Dad," she admitted, voice cracking. "Scared of Mom's anger, scared of breaking apart what little family we have left. But I can't keep lying. Not to you, not to myself." We talked for hours, slowly unraveling the tangled web of pressure she'd been living under. Skylar told me about how Emily and even her aunt had pushed her to reject Lisa, whispering cruel things behind closed doors. She spoke about the confusion she felt, loving both her parents but feeling torn apart by their conflict. Her voice broke as she confessed the guilt she carried, guilty for wanting to protect me and Lisa, yet feeling like she was betraying her mother. She described the loneliness of being caught in a storm she never asked for, with no clear way out. Listening to her pain, I felt a fierce protectiveness and heartbreak wash over me. For hours, we cried, argued, and held each other, learning the power of honesty even when it hurt. That night, I realized the true cost of silence, how secrets isolate and wound the most vulnerable. But amidst the pain, hope flickered, fragile, uncertain, yet alive. The road ahead would be difficult, full of struggles and setbacks, but we would face it together. Because sometimes the bravest act of love is to face the hardest truths head on. The breakthrough with Skylar gave me hope, but I knew silence could no longer hold us together. The tension was a ticking bomb, and I had to face it head on. So I called for a family meeting. Everyone involved. No exceptions. Emily, Skylar, Nick, Lisa, and I gathered in the living room, each carrying invisible scars and guarded emotions. Emily arrived late, her eyes sharp and wary like a storm on the horizon. Nick sat quietly, arms crossed, caught between loyalty to his mother and his father. Lisa seemed nervous, but determined to stand her ground. Skylar's tension was palpable. She didn't know if speaking up would heal or shatter what was left. I began with a calm but firm voice. This isn't about blame. It's about honesty, respect, and trying to heal the wounds that have torn us apart. Emily sneered. You want to make this about your girlfriend. But this is about betrayal, about lies and broken promises. I met her gaze. It's about all of that, yes. But it's also about the pain those lies caused us all. Skylar's voice wavered but broke through the heavy air. Mom, you said awful things about Lisa. You made me question everything, and it hurt. Emily's face flushed, but she said nothing. Lisa took a deep breath. I'm not here to replace anyone. I just want to be accepted for who I am. Nick surprised us by speaking up. Dad, I like Lisa. She's good to you. We can't keep tearing ourselves apart. For a brief moment, silence filled the room. A fragile pause before the flood. Emily accused me of rubbing salt in old wounds by bringing Lisa into our lives so soon. I reminded her she was the one who had broken us. The argument spiraled, tears, anger, raised voices. But amidst the chaos, something real surfaced, a shared pain, a longing to fix what's broken. By the night's end, no one had all the answers. No one had forgiven fully. But we were talking, truly talking. And sometimes, that's where healing begins. The fragile calm that followed our family meeting lasted only for a short while. It was like the eye of a storm, deceptively peaceful, but surrounded by chaos. After weeks of tense silence, small cracks began to reappear. Skylar, who had started tentatively rebuilding her relationship with Lisa, grew distant again. The weight of conflicting loyalties pulled her apart. She confided in me one afternoon, her voice barely above a whisper. Dad, she said, Mom told me things about you and Lisa that don't make sense. I don't know what's true anymore. Her confusion pierced my heart. How could I protect her from the tangled web of family secrets? Emily's behavior worsened. She started showing up unannounced, leaving cold notes, and quietly spreading rumors among relatives. Her words painted me as the villain, Lisa as a manipulator, and herself as the victim. The family gatherings turned icy, with relatives taking sides or retreating altogether. Nick, once the quiet observer, broke down one night. Dad, I'm caught in the middle, and it's killing me. I don't know who to trust anymore. His pain echoed my own. The divorce hadn't just shattered my marriage, it had broken our entire family. I found myself overwhelmed by the responsibility to be the steady anchor. I wanted to protect my children, but the shifting alliances and whispered accusations made that nearly impossible. In the darkest moments, I questioned myself. Was I doing enough? Was I the cause of this fracture? But deep down, I knew the truth was complex, filled with hurt, fear, and misunderstandings. One night, as I sat alone reflecting, I realized something vital. Healing isn't about forgetting the past or pretending wounds don't exist. It's about embracing the pain, learning from it, and choosing to move forward, together or apart. That resolve became my guiding light. For Skylar, for Nick, for Lisa, for me. The road ahead would be uncertain and hard, but I was ready to face it, one step at a time. The silence that had plagued our family for months finally shattered. It wasn't just the weight of unspoken words anymore. It was a desperate need for truth, for honesty, for a reckoning. It started with Skylar. For so long, she had held her emotions in, trying to navigate the chaos around her without breaking. But that night, everything came to a head. Skylar couldn't stay silent anymore. "Mom," she began, her voice shaking, "why did you lie to me? Why did you make me believe all those things about Dad and Lisa?" Emily's face twisted with a mix of anger and pain. She opened her mouth to say something, but her voice faltered, the facade of control slipping for the first time in years. "I did it to protect you," Emily finally said, her tone defensive. "I didn't want you to get hurt. I thought keeping you away from Lisa would protect you from more heartbreak." Skylar stood her ground, shaking her head. "You hurt me more by pushing me away from Dad and Lisa. You made me feel like I was betraying him, like I was supposed to choose sides." The room fell into an agonizing silence as mother and daughter faced each other, the weight of years of resentment hanging in the air. Emily, unable to look her daughter in the eye, took a step back. The walls that had been built up between them for so long started to crumble, but not without leaving deep cracks in the foundation. I could see the pain in both of their eyes. Skylar's deep hurt, Emily's guilt, the complicated mess of emotions we had all been ignoring for so long. "I thought you'd understand," Emily whispered, her voice breaking. "I thought you'd see I was just trying to protect our family." Skylar's voice shook with emotion. "You didn't protect me, Mom. You kept me in the dark, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being caught in the middle." The tension between them was palpable, and the air felt thick with anger, betrayal, and sadness. My heart broke seeing my daughter, the one person I thought I could protect from this mess, now standing at the epicenter of it all. Then, as if the storm inside Skylar had finally reached its peak, she turned to me. "Dad, I don't know if I can fix this. I don't know if things will ever be okay again." The words stung, but I understood. This wasn't just about me or Lisa. This was about Skylar losing her sense of safety, her trust in her own family, and everything she had believed in. "I know, Sky, but we're not giving up. Not on you. Not on this family." Emily looked at us both, the tears welling up in her eyes. "I never meant for this to happen. I just wanted to keep you safe." But in trying to protect Skylar, Emily had inadvertently hurt her in ways that would take time to heal. For the first time in years, I saw my family for what it was. Broken, but still standing. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. It would take time, effort, and so many conversations like this one. But I knew that if we could survive this, if we could rebuild after all this pain, maybe we could finally find a way to heal. And so we stayed there, together in the storm of emotions, knowing that this moment was just the beginning of a long journey. The fight to heal, to rebuild what had been broken, had only just begun. After the confrontation with Skylar and Emily, things didn't return to normal. Not that I expected them to. The air was thick with the aftermath of what had been said, the unspoken truths that had come to light. For days, everything seemed frozen in place. Skylar and Emily kept their distance, unable to bridge the gap that had formed between them. I watched as they both silently struggled with their own guilt, their own pain. But there was something else, something I couldn't ignore. The truth was, the damage didn't just go away. It lingered like an invisible wound, festering beneath the surface. We were all walking on eggshells, trying not to trigger more hurt, more anger, more confusion. But I knew, as much as I wanted to believe everything would miraculously heal on its own, it wouldn't. Skylar had always been my rock, the one person I could count on to understand me. But now, she was in a place I couldn't reach. She had opened up to me, but there was still so much unsaid, so much buried beneath the surface that she hadn't fully expressed. I knew she was still carrying that weight, and it broke my heart to see her shoulder it alone. One evening after dinner, I sat with Skylar in the living room. I could tell she had something on her mind, but she wasn't ready to talk. We sat in silence for a while before I spoke up. "You know you don't have to carry this alone, right?" I said gently. She didn't answer at first, her eyes distant. But then she looked at me, and I saw the weight of everything she had been holding back. "I don't know how to fix this, Dad," she said quietly. "I don't know how to make it better." "You don't have to fix it alone either, Sky. We're in this together," I reassured her, reaching for her hand. She squeezed it tightly, the tears welling up in her eyes. "I just wish things were different. I don't know who to trust anymore. I don't know where I belong in all of this." And in that moment, I realized that her pain was so much deeper than I had ever understood. It wasn't just about the lies or the betrayal. It was about her identity, her place in the world that had been shattered by this family drama. I wanted to tell her it would be okay, that everything would be fine. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. There were no quick fixes. The road to healing was long and uncertain, but there was something I could give her: time, patience, and love. That was all I had to offer in that moment. Later that night, I spoke to Emily. We need to do better. For Skylar, for Nick, and for ourselves. We can't keep pretending like everything's okay when it's not. She nodded, her face drawn with exhaustion and regret. "I know. I've made so many mistakes. But I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. I don't want to lose our family." The road ahead wasn't clear, but I saw something that night, a flicker of hope, a willingness to try, to rebuild, even if it meant confronting the past head on. And maybe that was the most important thing, the willingness to try, even when everything seemed broken. We couldn't undo the hurt, the betrayal, or the damage. But together, we could start picking up the pieces. And maybe, just maybe, we could build something new from what was left. The months following our heart-to-heart felt like a delicate dance, slow, tentative, and full of uncertainty. We were all trying to find our footing in a family that had been shattered. For a long time, I wasn't sure if we were healing or just pretending to. But sometimes, pretending was all we had. Skylar, once full of life and light, had become quieter, more withdrawn. She tried to rebuild her relationship with me, but I could see the fear still in her eyes, the hesitation in her smile. I couldn't fix that for her. No one could. All I could do was give her the space to heal in her own time. Emily seemed to have made peace with the fact that she couldn't control everything, but she still struggled with guilt. I saw her at night, staring at old family photos, her eyes filled with regret. I wanted to reach out to her, to tell her it would be okay, but the truth was, it wasn't okay. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Nick, too, had become distant. His relationship with me had always been rocky. We never had the same bond that I shared with Skylar. But after everything that had happened, he grew even more silent, more distant. He blamed me for the rift in the family, and in his own way, I could see the anger growing inside him. He wasn't ready to forgive me, and I didn't know how to change that. But I did know this. Healing wasn't a straight line. It was full of setbacks and bumps, of reliving old hurts and memories. And sometimes it felt like we were moving backwards rather than forwards. But we kept going. There were moments, rare, fleeting moments, when I thought we might just make it. When Skylar would smile, not because she had to, but because she genuinely felt it. When Emily would sit down beside me, and for a split second, it felt like we were a family again. When Nick would talk to me, not in anger, but in a neutral tone, as if we were beginning to find common ground. But those moments were always brief, and then the reality would return. But I kept hoping. I kept fighting. Sometimes, that's all you can do. Keep fighting for the people you love, even when it feels like they've drifted so far away. A few weeks ago, I took Skylar out for coffee. Just the two of us. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was an effort. And when she looked at me finally, with eyes free of the anger that had been there for so long, I knew something had shifted. She still wasn't ready to let go of the past, and neither was I, but the future felt a little more possible. "I'm sorry, Dad," she said, her voice quiet, but sincere. "You don't have to apologize, Sky," I replied, my heart full. "We're in this together." For the first time in a long while, I truly believed that we could rebuild. Maybe not the family we once were, but something better, something more honest. And as I sat there watching my daughter slowly open up, I realized that healing doesn't mean forgetting or pretending that everything is okay. Healing means moving forward with the broken pieces, accepting that they'll never fit perfectly again, but choosing to make something beautiful from what we have left.